Hi, I'm Mark Kobe, producing artistic director here at Paper Mill Playhouse, and I'm so glad you were able to join us today for our very first installment of Babbling by the Brook. As everyone is aware, Paper Mill sadly had to cut short our programming this year due to the coronavirus pandemic, but we are striving every day to plan our comeback once it's safe to do so. I truly can't express how much I miss, well, we all do, creating the magic of live theater for you. These are unprecedented and unpredictable times, but we're wishing you and your families well, and we can't wait to see you in person here again. So I'm filming this today in my office here at the theater. I really can see the brook right outside my window. And in this new online series of artistic chats, we'll be bringing you lighthearted, informal conversations with some of your favorite Paper Mill artists of the past, exciting previews of the future programming, and glimpses behind the scenes of the organization and some more fun tidbits. It's a new virtual age, so please bear with us. Now, for our inaugural guest, I'm super happy to bring in Broadway star and beloved Paper Mill veteran, the one and only Rob McClure. Now, Rob got his start at Paper Mill when he was in high school through our Rising Star Awards. And he's gone on to be featured in 3 main stage productions here and 8 Broadway shows, including, of course, Honeymoon in Vegas, which you're seeing right now on that footage. Now, there was Chaplin, which earned him a Tony nomination, and most recently in the iconic title role of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Hi, bud.
Hey, Rob, how are you? Where are you?
I am home in Philadelphia in my 17-month-old daughter's room because she's running around the house now. So now I get to use her room.
Is she running around the house or she's running the house?
Both. Maggie is downstairs with her, and we try and schedule these things around her nap schedule.
I remember that. So before we get to, the business side of it, how are you guys doing?
We're doing okay. We've just been laying low and grateful to be healthy and grateful to have something to look forward to after this, because our producers at Mrs. Doubtfire have assured us that we'll be back when this is over. So at least I know there's a silver lining, but I know that a lot of people are uncertain or already know that the thing they thought they were going to be heading toward is no longer an option. And my heart goes out to them. I can't imagine this all feels uncertain enough without not knowing what's next,
Right, and you were right in the middle of it. I mean, was second, third preview of
We
Mrs.
had done
Doubtfire?
3 previews. Yeah, we did our first preview on March 9th. We did the 9th, 10th, and 11th. And on the afternoon of the 12th, we came in to rehearse. We were rehearsing changes to put in that night. And the producers came in and sat us all down and said, leave everything where it is. We're all getting up and leaving the theater.
Wow.
And we'll let you know when we'll be back. But we will be back, so leave everything where it is. So it's weird to think of all my stuff just sitting in the dressing room, the set.
It's good, though. I think that kind of thing, for me anyway, it feels hopeful. That really all that has to happen, I mean, not all that has to happen, there's a lot, but the exciting thing is once people get to go, many of these shows, you can just walk right back in and hopefully pick up, in a sense, where you left off. And I think people are going to just be clamoring for that. But let's go back for a minute.
Yeah.
Because you have a long history with Paper Mill.
Yeah.
And
not as long as yours, but almost.
Oh, no. I mean, I think you started here with the Rising Star program.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was 1997 was the first year my school entered.
And were you a senior then?
No, I was a freshman, and we did Hello, Dolly. And I got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for playing Cornelius in Hello, Dolly.
Wow.
And I had never heard of the Paper Mill Playhouse because I grew up in North Jersey and we didn't get out a lot, and I wasn't seeing theater. I wasn't necessarily even into theater. I was just doing it because it was an extracurricular thing at school. And the next thing, they told me that I had been nominated for this thing. And I showed up to the Paper Mill, and it was like Mecca to me. I mean, it was just everyone in a black tie and a real program with real awards, and it's very easy to feel like a big fish in your pond, and then you show up to that thing. And I remember seeing Matthew Scott perform in the leading actor medley, and being like, I have work to do. Like, I am so not up to par to these people. And then my senior year, I got nominated again for Where's Charlie?
Where's Charlie? That's right.
And I was reading the list of nominees and realized I was nominated against Matthew Scott, the kid who I was like, he's the best kid I've ever seen in my life. And we tied.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I was going
Yeah.
to ask who won. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
You
And
tied.
we tied, and then we carpooled to the summer conservatory together and
Right.
became like brothers. You know, he's like the closest thing I have to a brother.
He's a great guy, very talented, and Kristen too.
Yeah.
But then after that, and wait, I must have been teaching in the program at that time too.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a few years ago, a few years back.
Yes.
But then you came back to us. Was Carousel your next outing?
Yeah. So while I was in conservatory that summer of 2000, you guys hinted that there might be a track for me to audition for in Carousel, and it was non-equity, to be in the ensemble and double as Enoch Snow Jr. And I auditioned and I got it, and I just fell to the floor that I was going to be in a main stage. And that, to this day, I think that production of Carousel is not only one of the most beautiful things I've ever been in, but one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was just mind-blowing. I think back on some of those stage pictures we were creating, and they're unparalleled. I mean, it's just really astonishing memories. And I worked with people who I consider dear friends to this day. I learned so much from you guys. And that was just the beginning of our history together.
And that was a great cast too. That was Matt Bogart, right? And
Matt Bogart, Glory
Christiane,
Crampton,
Glory
Christiane
Crampton.
Knoll, Brandon Jovanovich, Jeb Brown,
Yeah, was pretty
Betsy
incredible.
Morgan.
Oh my God, that's right. And I do remember that you had a very special moment in that show that most people didn't know about. Is that right?
I wondered if we were going to get to this. I hoped we would. So yeah.
And I do remember, because I got my equity card doing Carousel in Chicago. And I do remember there's that moment at the end where Billy's gone up to heaven, and
yes,
you know, and the blossoms fall from the tree.
Yes.
And I think you had a hand in that, right?
Yeah. So I was told that there were two times. There was that time, and then earlier in the show during If I Loved You, I was told. So I had been rehearsing June is Busting Out All Over, and they said, well, you're not going to be in the beginning anymore. And I thought, I was like devastated. I thought I was just like cut for no reason. And they were like, we have something else we need you to do. They didn't say this at the time, but now I look back and go, oh, because I was non-equity. So the Star Keeper, which was Eddie Bracken, which we could talk about for the rest of time, had this little cart that he would fly in from the ceiling, this beautiful, like a Ferris wheel cart. And they strapped me into it in the wings, lifted me up, hoisted me over the stage, and gave me a little duffel bag full of rose petals or cherry blossom.
Cherry blossoms, right?
And I would right on cue drop them on Glory Crampton and Matt Bogart, and try so desperately to like make them perfect. I remember saying like, "Can there be more right on that musical?" And I was like, "There's only so much control I have from up here."
I remember that moment in tech. We need a little more, a little less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or a little Rob McClure up there.
Yes, exactly. And then they flew me back in, and I would like sort of enter behind the house mid June is Busting Out All Over, like the sailor who got caught in a crab net and needed a few extra minutes. But I was so thrilled to be there. God.
It was beautiful. And then you were back with us again for I'm Not Rappaport.
Yeah. So then I start after Carousel. I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I wanted to live at the Paper Mill. And I just had fallen in love with the community. I had fallen in love with the Milburn Deli. I had fallen in love with like that brook, sitting by that brook, and the Turtleback Zoo. I mean, I had fallen in love with the whole thing, and I just wanted to be around it. So I got a job at the box office. Right. I thought I just want to stick around, which I did for a while, and then you guys were auditioning. It was a co-production at the time with the Coconut Grove in Miami and the Fords in Washington. Right,
and it had a pretty starry cast.
Yeah, it was Judd Hirsch and Ben Vereen, and I was huge fans of both of them, and so I auditioned, I remember it was Judd Hirsch with a camera, and he like filmed me, and then he got behind the camera and watched it in front of me, and I was terrified, and I didn't get it. I thought that's fine. And it went to Florida, it went to DC, and then it was coming back to Paper Mill. And the kid who had been understudying the part I auditioned for was from Coconut Grove, a local non-equity from there.
Yeah.
Said, I'm not going all the way to New Jersey. So you guys offered me the understudy, and I begged you to let me keep my box office job, which you guys did. So I was working in the box office and understudying the part from the box office. I told you, like, here's my phone extension. If you need me, call me.
I remember that.
And
did
and
they
2
ever do
weeks-
it though? Did they ever?
no.
Play? Yeah.
No, not until New York. I got to go on in New York, but not at Paper Mill. And then 2 weeks into that run at Paper Mill, Angelo and Roy Miller
Sure.
came into the box office and let me know that the show was going to Broadway and they were bringing everyone. And here's your equity card.
What an amazing moment.
It was truly. I remember getting a call from Ron Gibbs.
Oh yeah,
telling-
who was Angela's assistant.
Yeah, telling me that was in the works, and my heart just, I mean, I was 21, 20, and just, you know, I if I ever got to Broadway, I thought it was going to be a long haul in, like, you know, working my butt off in musical theater auditions and singing and dancing. And here it was in a play, not a musical,
Right.
playing like a bad guy. I mean, that part, I played basically a punk kid in Central Park who beats up these two elderly men. It was not my wheelhouse, you know. So to be trusted with that, it was an astonishing gift. And I don't just say this, but anytime people say, like, about your start, I say, like, I really owe my whole career to Paper Mill, and I can confidently say that. I'm not gifting you guys with sentiment. It's true. You guys picked me up from where I was, and you gave me a platform to do what I loved doing at the time, and you kept on encouraging me and teaching me. And I remember you guys, like, stretching every one of my skills. Hey, you can't dance that yet. You need to figure that out. And going and drilling and drilling and drilling, and you guys being like, hey, in the Oklahoma section, we're going to give you Will Parker because it's going to make you a better dancer, and you're going to learn how to spin a rope. Like, you guys kept on stretching my skill set, and I'm so grateful.
Well, we, you know, on the other side of it, we claim you as our own family too, and have literally watched you grow up from high school to Broadway star now, amazingly, and are so proud to, you know, count you in our close family. And
Yeah.
Not only were we able to give you a platform to, you know, hone your theatrical skills, but we also taught you a survival job, which was answering phones and working in a box office, right?
That's right. And dealing
multifaceted.
Yes, dealing with the most fantastic subscribers ever.
Amen. And then it was, you know, you went out, certainly had a lot of successes and came back to us. We can talk about some other things too, but your next time on the Paper Mill stage was one of my favorite shows ever, Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yeah, we had the second that I found out that they were doing this adaptation, I found out, Paper Mill is doing the out-of-town tryout of a new Jason Robert Brown comedy starring Tony Danza.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that sounds fun. And I was thrilled to do it. I went in. I'll never forget the audition. You guys were there, and Tony Danza was there. And I remember who was casting that for you guys at the time. He pulled me outside of the room and he said, "Hey, listen. So Tony Danza's in there, and he was going to read with you. We told him not to do the song, but if he feels like doing the song, he's just going to do the song. So just be ready." And I went in and he did. He just a cappella sort of like went into it. We did the whole spiel. Yeah. I did the other 2 or 3 book scenes, and he went back behind the table where he was eating a sandwich, and the rest of you were doing that like wonderfully nerve-wracking thing where at the end of an audition you all look at each other like, is that all we need?
Right.
And behind you guys, Tony Danza went like this. And I left the room. I called my mom, and I was like, I don't care if I get this part. I got one of these from Tony Danza.
And I remember that too, because, you know, we saw a lot of different people for that role, and he fell in love with you.
Oh, man.
Right then and there. And it was magical between you on stage and also the trio with Bryn O'Malley, the brilliant Bryn O'Malley, beautiful, talented, funny. But you and Tony got very close. You became really good.
Yeah. we shared that little house, that little yellow house across the street from you
House
guys.
13.
House 13, yeah. We shared that house. And it's so funny. I remember during I'm Not Rappaport, Judd Hirsch and Ben Vereen sharing that house, and me thinking, man, one day I want to share that house. And there I was, sharing that house with Tony Danza.
Yeah.
And man, the stories. Living with Tony Danza, that should be a sitcom.
Yeah.
That should be. Oh my gosh! I remember there was a day where he ordered. He's really into fitness. Tony Danza is like ripped.
Yeah. Well, he was a boxer.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my.
He didn't just play one on TV.
Yeah.
I remember him telling us that story that he was really a boxer when they found him for Taxi.
Yeah, there is an incredible video online of one of his middleweight fights when he knocks a guy not only out but out of the ring in 18 seconds. You can find it online. It's unbelievable. But so he got one of those inversion tables where you put your feet in and you hang upside down like Batman,
right?
To sort of like stretch your back, and so he ordered it. He went home. He put it together. He came back to rehearsal on the middle of the day. We broke for dinner. He went back to the house. I rehearsed the second half of the day, and then I come back home and I open the door and I hear Rob, and I go running upstairs. Well, he has put it together wrong.
Oh my
and
God.
is stuck hanging upside down and can't right himself. And my first instinct was to want to take a picture, to which he started screaming at me. We became fast friends.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I mean, still a great supporter of Paper Mill. Came to our gala.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. He was, a guest at the gala, and during the auction, he like stood up and was like goading people. Come on!
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
You gotta give. But in the most loving way, just a great, great guy. And even now, he was always walking around Milburn, shaking hands, like everybody's best friend. No pretense.
No.
A really, honest, friendly guy, and just terrific.
And he what's so funny is he's filled his career with all this TV and film, but theater's where his heart is.
Yeah.
He's really most at home standing on zero with a pair of tap shoes on. Like that's where he wants to be.
Well, and they added a tap break for him in that show.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. I didn't even know that about him, that he was a test dancer, and
he just fell in love with it. He fell in love with it, and he followed it through. And we still keep in touch. He's an incredible human. I am just so lucky to know him. And
he learned to play the ukulele for that too, right?
Yeah. He actually was learning how to play the ukulele because he had. Do you remember? He had a New Year's resolution one year. It was his 60th birthday, actually, when he turned 60. He had a New Year's resolution that he was going to get one of those like thought a day calendars.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And do it. Everything it told you to do it. That was his New Year's resolution. So he bought one, and it was like a goal a day. And one of them said, learn to play the ukulele.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So he did.
I guess another one said, learn to tap dance.
Exactly. Yeah. But he continues to expand. He's like one of those people who is never settles, always wants to learn.
I just was communicating with him the other day. I think his birthday just passed.
Yeah.
It was just recently. I sent him a note and he wrote back. But speaking of learning stuff, we should talk a little bit about Chaplin before we get to Mrs. Doubtfire and the 7 shows or so, 6 shows in between for you.
Yeah.
Chaplin was an amazing moment in time. Just that show itself, but also you in that role. What an incredible match of talent, persona, just heart and soul, but also all the skills that you had to learn just to get through that show every night, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of miraculous how it all came together. I tend to think about, when I got a Tony nomination for that, and when that was announced, you have all of these moments where you're going like, I'm not going to win, but if I do, I should think about what I'm going to say.
Right.
And in thinking about what I was going to say, if that happened, you go like, who's really responsible for this? Yeah, I had to put in all of the work, but you go like, Charlie Chaplin, first of all, needed to exist and achieve what he achieved. Right. And then a guy named Chris Curtis needed to be like sort of infatuated with him and a musician and write a score. And while he was writing the score, I needed to be aging at the right time in the right place, be 5'7" and scrappy and a little athletic and funny and have dark hair and kind of look like there were hundreds of miracles aligning at that moment in time to make me the guy to do that thing at that time. And it was too big an opportunity to not try and rise to every occasion. And that was what you guys had ingrained in me, was like, the difference between can and can't is just the work. You know what I mean? So like, hey, can you walk a tightrope? How long do I have? Right. Hey, can you roller skate blindfolded? How long do I have? Because Chaplin himself wasn't born knowing how to do that stuff. Like I read every biography, watched every clip there was of him. And, you know, he used to keep a staff around at his studio, even when they weren't filming, just in case he had an idea and wanted them to get to work on it. So he had a full-time staff waiting at Chaplin Studios for him to think of something. They'd be sitting around on the lot and he would go, a circus. The little tramp goes to the circus. Someone, we're going to do a tightrope bit. Can you build me a big top circus with a tightrope? And as they were building it, he would tie a tightrope between two trees on the studio lot and learn how to walk the tightrope. It wasn't reverse. It wasn't, oh, I know how to walk a tightrope, let's build a bit. He would think of the bit and then figure out how to physically achieve it. And I had to be of that school. I had to go like, well, he didn't know how to do it when he thought of this, so let's figure it out. And they would send me to a trapeze school in Brooklyn, and next thing you know, I was walking a tightrope. And
but you've always been that kind of performer. You always have. You've had a curiosity and just a love of learning and wanting to, like you say, we pushed your boundaries, but you wanted to do that for yourself. You wanted to learn everything there was. Card tricks, dance, lasso, all of that. And I think that's what's joyful about being a performer, really, is growing and changing and experiencing all those different things. You talk a little bit about Chaplin being that moment where all those pieces come together. And I think a lot of performers, spend their whole career waiting for that time. Did you know going into that project or early on, this is my role, or did it all just come together for you as it was happening?
No, it was a very long audition process. I feel like they were very nervous about finding the right person for that project.
Well, it's an iconic part, right? Everybody has seen The Little Tramp. People think they know who that is, although they don't. That was what was so great about the show, exploring so much of his life and personality.
Yeah, but I think they were really terrified about finding the right person. And I had done I'm Not Rappaport and Avenue Q. So it wasn't, people didn't really know. I mean, I had done, Avenue Q was a big deal. It won the Tony for Best Musical, and it was a huge opportunity. But I wouldn't by any means say people knew who I was at that time. And so I showed up to that audition really sort of clawing my way in the door. And then I had 8 callbacks over 2 months. I was doing a show up at the American Repertory Theater in Boston at the time and taking the Amtrak back every Monday, every day off for another callback. Until they finally, the moment that it all kind of like sealed the deal. It was on a Monday. I had to be on the train back to Boston the next day for a Tuesday evening performance. And my 5 o'clock audition on that Monday, they said, great. What are you doing tomorrow at 10 in the morning? And I said, I have a train at noon back to Boston. Perfect. We'll see you at 10 and have a 2-minute Chaplin-y thing ready. A thing. What the heck is a 2-minute Chaplin-y thing?
I don't know, but it involves a bowler and a cane. I'm sure, right?
Exactly. So
Did you have one?
No, I didn't. So I went home and I was sort of racking my brain thinking of like, what the heck does that mean? Do I imitate him? Do I do the walk and spin the cane? What do I do? And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was in bed with with Maggie, my wife, and she said, well, why don't you at least bring music so you're not hung out to dry with like a silent room? I was like, that's actually really helpful. So I started looking through my phone, and I had a classical music playlist, and I had Flight of the Bumblebee. And I thought, I'm going to bring Flight of the Bumblebee and a fly swatter, and I'm going to fight an invisible fly that's going to beat me up. That fly's going to win. That's it. And I fell asleep. I woke up. I got on the Amtrak with my earbuds and a fly swatter and sort of staged it in my mind. I'm sure everyone on the Amtrak thought I was out of my mind. And the first time I did it was at 10 o'clock in the morning in front of the team. It was the first time I did it on my feet. And I could tell the moment that ended, that they were like, that's the guy. But it was, it took a long haul to get them to believe in me. And it was, vocally, the original key it was written in was not in my wheelhouse. Chris Curtis is a tenor, the composer, and they had been doing workshops with Ewan Morton. So everything was sitting, Chaplin was singing all of these high Bs, and I'm a baritone, and I was trying to tell them, like, in those first few auditions, hey, if high B's is where this lives, I'm not your guy. In the back of my mind, I'm going, why is a silent film star belting B's anyway? But we don't have to go there. But
because it's a musical, that's why.
Exactly. But I was very lucky that the musical director was very confident that I was the guy. Yeah. And he, without telling the composer, just said, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to take it down so that B is a G, and just do it. And I'm of the mindset, and always have been, that it's about the journey of the song and about the individual. And a song is like a suit. It can look great, but you have to tailor it to the performer. And Brian Stokes Mitchell's G is just as exciting as Billy Porter's B. You know what I mean? It's just about the journey in your voice. And luckily, the music director was of that mindset as well. And we showed the team, and it was just as exciting as it was when the tenors were doing it. And that took some convincing to let them know that, like, hey, I know you want it to soar way up in the rafters, but I think we can make a strong presence in my instrument. And I was able to convince them, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah. So, I mean, so much we could talk about. We could talk for hours. I mean, Noise is Off and Something Rotten.
Yeah.
And, Avenue Q, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Of course, which, you know, may have another life now.
I know.
Right?
Fingers crossed.
So
Fingers crossed.
funny.
I hope they find another theater. Well, what a wild ride that show has been on.
I know. Didn't get the greatest notices right out front, but the audiences loved it, and the fan base grew, and all that craziness about losing the theater. And now, you know, sort of everybody's lost their theater for the moment.
Yeah. How about it?
The idea that show could come back in another space is so exciting. But I want to get to Mrs. Doubtfire, because it feels to me like all those other things were fantastic, but like it feels like for me your journey from Paper Mill, through Chaplin and really to Mrs. Doubtfire is an incredible one. So talk to us a little bit about, first of all, taking on this Robin Williams iconic role, and also, without giving it away, but talking a little bit about the transformation.
Yeah, oh sure.
To go through on stage and all of that.
Yeah. So I was, I had worked for Kevin McCullum, the producer, on Avenue Q, and then on Something Rotten, both on Broadway, and then 17 months on tour. And while I was on with my wife, my wife is an actress as well, who is astonishingly good, and I was so lucky to go on tour with her. And Kevin McCullum and the writers of Something Rotten became friends of mine. And while we were on the road, I started hearing murmurings that they were collaborating on a Mrs. Doubtfire adaptation. And I very kindly was just like, oh my gosh, if you even have a draft you want to hear out loud, I would love to take a swing at it, or an audition. I would never, no matter how successful time comes, the idea of like that anyone would just give me a part is beyond me. There's too much at stake. I get auditioning. I get it. So I was like, I just want to audition for it. I just want to have the chance to try and do it. Because I was a huge fan of that film. And Robin Williams is just the abandon with which he performs was something that I always sought. It was just his ability to play. There was a sense of play about the way he performed that I have always wanted to take on, that it was always fueled with joy. And you never knew what was going to happen next, you know?
No.
So that day came where they said, hey, we do have a draft and we would like to hear it out loud. Would you? Yeah. So I read it, and it went away for a second. And then I thought, oh, well, that was fun. You know, you let it go out into the ether. And then they said, okay. And it took probably, another two or 3 years. And then they were like, okay, we're doing another reading and we would love for you to do it. And we did an official reading. It was 2 performances at the West Side Theater for like 200 people each performance. And about an hour and a half after that reading, Kevin McCullum called me and said, we have the funding, we have the theater, we have the out of town. It's happening. I was like, all of a sudden it was like a freight train, you know, and you're the guy. Wow. I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? It was like my hair's standing up just remembering. It was just astonishing. And now looking back on it, Kevin McCullum has actually said to me, you know, you're lucky that it took as long as it did to come to fruition, because that first time you read that draft, you were too young for me to believe that you had a 15-year-old daughter.
Right. So you had to grow into it.
He was like, had it been ready then, you couldn't have been the guy.
Wow.
And that's what I mean about the aligning of miracles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Any of us who are lucky enough to do this for a living, there's so many forces at play.
Timing is everything. Timing.
Yeah. So I got to do it. We went out to the Fifth Avenue Theater in Seattle and we tried it out, and it was thrilling. And we were trying to figure out this transformation.
Because the movie is incredible with that, and so much of the hijinks is about him switching back and forth. And I remember talking to you when you first got it, and saying, I think you had just been in a fitting or something, and saying, how are you going to do that? So without giving too much away, but
no, I can. People have seen it. It's out there now. But so we there was a lot of conversation, obviously, because in the film, every time Robin Williams runs into the restroom at the restaurant, and he comes back out as Mrs. Doubtfire, and vice versa, we know that a director yelled cut and he went into a trailer for 5.5 hours. Right? We know that. On Broadway, if I run out there and 18 seconds later Mrs. Doubtfire comes out, I have 18 seconds. And so much of the legacy of that performance is about the transformation. And in the beginning, Jerry Zaks, legendary Jerry Zaks, which I couldn't believe I was getting to work with Jerry Zaks. I mean, I saw that revival of Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum 3 times. I mean, he's a master, right? Getting to work with him. And he said, you know, I'm not sold on prosthetics. I think it's going to hold us up. I think it's going to get in our way. And I think we need to rely on theater magic. And I think we'll be fine. And in the back of my mind, I was going, but I'm not fooling strangers. I'm fooling my wife and my kids.
The kids, right.
If the audience has to rely on the willing suspension of disbelief, they're going to judge them for not recognizing me. They're going to go, this is dumb. And you might get me to look like a woman in that time, but you're not going to get me to look like an elderly woman in 18 seconds. You're not. No matter how many little age lines you try and draw in 18 seconds, it's not going to happen. So my concern was that it be a full convincing disguise. And also in this day and age, handling gender was a touchy subject. Right. And the more extreme the transformation, the more it was a full head to toe disguise, the less it was about gender swap. And the more it was about inhabiting another character. It's a performance. So I felt like that transformation was really, really crucial. And I said, can we at least, explore prosthetics? And if they get in our way, we'll cut them. And he said, no, please, I want to explore every option. And so we went in and they did that big cast and they carved her face. And we did something that worked. We went through about 5 different versions of what that thing would be. And they kept on saying, you should wear it in rehearsal now. You should wear it in rehearsal now. And I kept on saying, no, I'm on every break. I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to put it on and take it off and put it on and take it off and put it on and take it off, because I don't want to show it to Jerry until it works. Because if Jerry sees it fail If I don't make that quick change, if it's coming off in the middle of the scene, he's going to cut it. And I desperately want this to work. So we just kept on drilling it on breaks in the other room, and until we figured out the functionality of it. And then when Jerry realized that not only was it really convincing, but that it wasn't going to get in the way of the storytelling, it could be done in 18 seconds, and it could be wildly transformative. I have 4 dressers who help me head to toe. So it is a full tights, shoes, skirt, blouse, bodysuit, face, teeth, glasses, earrings, lipstick, wig, in 18 seconds. It's really thrilling.
Crazy.
It's thrilling. Yeah, but sometimes we have 90 seconds, but sometimes we have 18 seconds. So it's wild.
How many times do you do it?
31.
That's the crazy thing. Because I remember that from the movie. He switches back and forth so many times.
And sometimes it's not even for the sake of how thrilling, when we're in the restaurant scene, the audience is with it. Oh my God, yeah. He's got to make it. He's got to make it. But those times where Daniel Hillard exits off stage left, the lights fade, and we're in a new scene at the house where he's picking up the children from school, and Mrs. Doubtfire walks through the door. Right. The audience is feeling the crossfade and the passage of time. But some of those are the craziest changes to pull off, because it just feels like, the audience doesn't even get to appreciate that one because their brain isn't clocking how little time has passed.
Right.
But I owe so much to my dressers and my makeup people. They are superheroes. I mean, it's them. People say, how do you do that? They're doing it. I'm just standing still.
It's amazing. I mean, I love that movie. You two, now as a parent, I'm a parent too, that it's born out of his love for his family.
Yeah.
That he's driven, it's hilarious for us to watch.
Yeah.
But it's driven out of his love to hang on to those that he loves.
Yeah.
And, I'm just sorry that it was preview number 3 that you got cut off, because I haven't been there yet to see you. And
yeah.
I have good friends at the Seattle Fifth Avenue Theater and know how successful it was out there. And I can't wait to see it when you come back.
I'm so excited. And I feel like the show is such a warm hug. You know what I mean? Euphogenia Doubtfire is a blanket. I mean, it's really the most nurturing. Daniel Hillard learns how to be a father from inhabiting this nanny.
Right.
And there's something warm and fuzzy about our memory of that character. And the first time that audience I knew that I had a certain responsibility to fulfill an expectation. Right. The audience is expecting a certain thing that lives in their heart, and I can't break that thing. I need to let them know that I'm as big a fan of that thing as they are, and that character's in good hands. And the second they trust me with it, then they'll let me take it somewhere new for the next 2 hours. Right. But the arrival of that voice and the arrival of that character, it needs to feel like she's back, and then we'll take her somewhere else. But there's I will say the moment that voice arrives and the whole audience goes like, oh, thank God. Because they don't want it to be terrible. They want it to be the thing they know and they love. And it's never going to be Robin Williams. It will never be Robin Williams. It's too perfect. I don't claim to be anywhere near it, but I claim to be striving to make the audience feel the way he made them feel. Right. It might not be the same thing, but I'm hoping to tap into the same heart that was behind that performance. And I'm just so thrilled that they trusted me with it. And I can't wait to get back to it, because it's exactly what people are craving, which is hold your family close and go to any lengths to protect them and be close to them. And at the end of that show, Mrs. Doubtfire is talking to her children's television show audience, but in the theater, it's to the audience themselves. And I get to say, at the end of this wonderful speech about redefining family, I get to turn out front and say, oh, my love, Puppet, you're going to be all right. And the idea that first night back, when curtains rise on Broadway again, that I would get to turn out to 1,000 people at the Sondheim and tell them they're going to be okay, I get overwhelmed. I really do. I can't wait to get back. I know we have to, but I can't wait.
Rob, I can't wait to be in the audience when you
Oh,
deliver that line. What a beautiful way for us to end this time together.
oh
And
man.
there is nothing better than two things for me in my life, which is family and theater,
Yeah.
which is my other family. I know you feel the
Yeah.
same way. And
100%.
you are Paper Mill family, and you're also Paper Mill royalty in my book.
Uh,
Um, and I just want to thank you so much for sharing this time with us. And please give our love to your family, to Maggie, and we will see you very soon, hopefully, back on stage doing what you do so well, which is entertaining and pouring out your heart.
and I can't wait to come back to Paper Mill and split a gobbler with you by the brook.
I love it. It's my favorite sandwich. Thanksgiving on a roll, right?
I can't wait.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Love you.
I love you, bud.
Okay, bye. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind everybody about Paper Mill's other online offerings. We have weekly archival broadcasts of our Humanities Symposium series. Those are on Thursday nights at 7 on Facebook, with engaging topics and starry guests. Tomorrow night, it's legendary composer Jerry Herman. Then on Mondays at 7, also on Facebook, we are traveling back through our Summer Conservatory New Voices concerts, which are amazingly inspiring. Please tune in and enjoy. And thanks for joining us on Babbling by the Brook. We'll see you next Wednesday.